So continuing looking at regions and how the United States has interacted with great powers in different regions of the world, I'd like to start a conversation about U.S. Relations with India historically. This will tie in with a discussion about Pakistan, and I think in terms of understanding uh, South Asia, understanding sort of the dynamic of India and Pakistan, and now India and China is actually really important. And so rather than thinking about these things as sort of separate, I hope we come to see them as sort of all interrelated, particularly as the international system becomes more multipolar. So when we look at India's foreign policy historically, India, when it gains its independence from Britain in the late 1940s, is really focused on preserving that independence and preventing a redomination of India by powerful states, preventing a new wave of colonization. And the most obvious place that that plays out is how India cuts itself off from foreign investment. Essentially, multinational corporations are not allowed to operate in India for fear that they will be sort of a Trojan horse that will bring in foreign influence. And that leaves India really quite isolated from the rest of the world. Um, the other thing that ends up happening is that India tries to steer clear of the Cold War. It tries to remain independent of the great power struggles between the United States and the Soviet Union. Um, we'll talk about that in a little bit. What the short version is that India becomes a leader of what are called non-aligned states, and this includes India, it includes Egypt, it includes later Yugoslavia, countries that maybe didn't get along perfectly with the Soviet Union, but also had deep hostilities with the United States that left them sort of outside of the normal Cold War framework. India, really, its security concerns following its independence were really tied up with Pakistan. That as part of Great Britain leaving South Asia, the South Asian continent is sort of carved up between majority Muslim areas and majority Hindu areas, with the majority Muslim areas being called Pakistan. And then there being a whole variety of sort of independent principalities that were allowed to choose which direction they went, whether they joined with India or they joined with Pakistan. This is where the sort of seed of the Kashmir dispute ends up, where it's a independent principality, princedom, kingdom. It's majority Muslim, but ends up siding with India and joining India. And so at the really the heart of India's security concerns is this competition with Pakistan over Kashmir, which really poisons a lot of the relationships between the two countries. And the United States ends up forming an alliance with Pakistan as part of the Cold War, as part of its containment strategy. The United States was quite hostile to the non-aligned movement. In fact, I think Secretary of State Dulles commented that it's not possible to be non-aligned between good and evil, which is sort of how the United States was understanding that India's decision to essentially not back the United States against the Soviet Union was a de facto backing of the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was actually quite happy with that situation. In fact, the Soviet Union was more than accommodating and said, no, you don't have to integrate yourself into the Soviet bloc. We're more than happy to cooperate with you. And in fact, the Soviet Union becomes India's main trade partner over the next couple decades. When the Cold War ends, the collapse of the Soviet Union sets off sort of an economic crisis in India. And in 1991, India is forced to make major reforms to their economy. And one of the big changes that occurs is that India opens up its economy to foreign investment and foreign corporations to come in. And as a result, you get really rapid economic growth. India had been sort of plodding along at 1% to 2% economic growth a year, which isn't bad. It's a steadily growing economy, but it wasn't enough to lift the population out of poverty to really see industrialization take hold. After the reforms in 1991, India begins growing at 5 to 6 to 7% per year, which isn't nearly as fast as China, but is a significant rate of growth that really is transforming the Indian economy. As India has gotten some breathing room with that economic growth, India has really asserted itself as a great power. And we see this in a couple of different ways. One of those is India's pursuit of a nuclear weapon, which they had started in the 1970s and then sort of gets formalized in 1998. there's also sort of an expression of regional hegemony where India begins intervening in conflicts of its neighbors, and trying to assert greater influence over its neighbors. And then a recent naval buildup where India has sought to increase its naval presence, acquiring aircraft carriers and participating in international anti-piracy operations. There's also been an attempt by India to mend fences with some of its potential rivals, particularly the United States. As I said, the United States and India had a very um, difficult, if not hostile, relationship through much of the Cold War. After the end of the Cold War, India and the United States really began to slowly build a foundation for cooperation. I would say that that accelerates dramatically under the Bush administration in the early 2000s. But China has also tried to repair relations with China, as we'll talk about in a little bit. China and India have fought a war over control of part of that Kashmir region that's disputed between India and Pakistan. Um, India and China have, I would say, done a mediocre job of establishing a foundation for cooperation, but it's been largely superficial from my perspective. And then with Pakistan, it ebbs and flows, but by and large, the relationship remains more or less where it was for the last several decades, with China and with India and Pakistan being hostile to each other, and periodically that hostility escalating into military conflict. Um, as I said, the United States really was hostile to this idea of the non-aligned movement, and ended up backing Pakistan, which was more than happy to participate in an anti-communist alliance, assuming that it meant that the United States was supplying military hardware that Pakistan could then divert to an arms race with India. But with the end of the Cold War, suddenly the United States is no longer is in a position where it needs Pakistan as a bulwark against the Soviet Union quite as much. It's able to potentially distance itself from Pakistan, and it's able to start engaging with India and investing. The Clinton administration is primarily concerned with nuclear non-proliferation with India, and India suffers, sanctions. But by and large, India remained part of the international community and wasn't sort of aggressively isolated from the international community the way that the United States has sought to do with Iran, that the United States has sought to do with North Korea. And the Bush administration pushed through, I would say, fairly deep cooperation with India, trying to pave the way for India to return into the international fold in terms of nuclear security. The Bush administration brokered a deal to sell to India nuclear reactors, which India had been sort of developing all their nuclear technology internally, and it wasn't necessarily up to international standards. And the Bush administration sort of paved the way and said, India, even though they have developed nuclear weapons, has largely been a responsible party with nuclear technology. And so transferring this perhaps next or several generations more advanced nuclear reactor technology to India doesn't pose a risk of nuclear proliferation, which is, I think, a major statement of trust and cooperation between the United States and India. And the Obama administration continued to court India as a strategic partner as part of the pivot to Asia. India was, I would say, not overly receptive to that. India sort of understood that the US interest in cooperation with India was as much about checking China and using India as a counterweight against China as it was any sort of concern for India itself. And yet, great power politics are what they are, and balance of power is what it is. And that reality of a rising China, a powerful China on India's border, is hard to ignore. And that relationship between India and China has long been contentious. In 1962, China, as I mentioned, invades part of India and carves off a sliver of territory from Kashmir. Pakistan sort of hands over a chunk of its own territory from Kashmir to sort of help facilitate Chinese control over that area. but that sort of lays the seeds for this toxic relationship between the two countries. They have struggled for influence over Nepal and Bhutan. China has been a close partner with Pakistan, including helping Pakistan to develop its nuclear arsenal, perhaps even faster than India was able to develop its own arsenal. But India has also given shelter and support to the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan leader in exile, that has sort of been very critical of Chinese occupation of Tibet. There have been efforts by India to help repair that relationship. And so in 2006, India and China negotiated an agreement in which they declared that they sort of a declaration of friendship. But China continued to build up its naval capacity in the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea, and India has responded by countering that. And then most recently, this year in 2020, that line of actual control, or that line of control separating Chinese-controlled Kashmir from Indian-controlled Kashmir, was the site of an increasingly brutal conflict. There's been sort of a norm of non-shooting as Indian soldiers and Chinese soldiers have vied for control in that region. You'll have, Indian soldiers advancing and Chinese soldiers throwing rocks at them, and Indian soldiers retreating. And this was sort of the dynamic for years. But in 2020, China went in with force and occupied additional territory at the expense of India, and didn't pull back. And so that threatens potentially to further poison that partnership between the world's two most populous countries and two of the largest, most powerful countries in Asia.